Hey guys, welcome to the Silver Report. Here we are, it's Sunday, April 2nd, 2017. We have gold currently trading at $1,250.20. Silver is trading at $18.33. And let's get right into some of the economic factors that will be playing a part into the price of precious metals. Because we have this monumentous event taking place in just a matter of weeks. And what we're seeing, Marine Le Pen. Now I want you to focus on something very carefully. During the American 2016 presidential election, our media, which is controlled, was out there and they were discussing how that Hillary Clinton was leading the polls by 10 points, that it was going to be an astronomical landslide victory for Hillary Clinton. We knew that Hillary Clinton was the supported candidate by the establishment, that she was the anointed one, the chosen one that was selected, and that since her failure to be elected, we've seen an overwhelming attack. In fact, that is what pushed a lot of people to vote for Donald Trump, because they just don't trust our media anymore. And so we can't always believe all of the news and reports that we've seen, because it's the same all through the European networks. And what we're seeing is the French presidential candidate, Marine Le Pen, she told a political rally on Sunday that the euro currency, which she wants France to get rid of, to abandon the euro currency, is like a knife in the ribs of the French people. So the leader of the Eurosceptic and anti-immigrant National Front, is what they call it, also told the rally in the city of Bordeaux that the forthcoming election for president could be a herald, quote, change in civilization, unquote. And it's really true. If you look at some of the migrant populations that have sprung up prior to this migration issue, this whole pandemonium, this is Pandora's box that they've opened of immigration, and have just opened up the third world and dumped it into all of Europe. Now, as a part of the EU, these countries no longer have a ability to limit the amount of people coming into their countries. In fact, some of the countries were saying that we want to go through the proper vetting process, and the EU leaders were saying this is illegal, that you don't have a choice in this. So they could hold them at the border, but they cannot refuse them. And so, in essence, I don't understand, because when you look at something like this, prior to this immigration crisis, they were already having major issues with the fact that their culture was completely disappearing, that they had been conquered, that there was a average of 0.2 or 1.2 children for every 2 people in France, which is not a sustainable population growth number, and that they were being conquered slowly, that over time there are no-go zones, where the citizens no longer can go or conduct themselves in their Western world the way they used to without being assaulted or having some of these incidents that take place on train stations throughout Europe, which I don't want to discuss on this channel. Check out Silver Report Uncut for more on this. But what we've been seeing is they're devastated. Europe has been conquered, and this is not the idea of somebody who has the Europeans' best interest in mind. These kind of events, this kind of flood of a whole other nation and culture in there, to the point where they become the voting populace, the controlling populace of these nations. And they have no control over this. And so, of course, when someone says we need to put a stop to this, they don't care about Europe. The main controllers of this, the whole point is to eliminate stability within Europe, because they know that typically what follows after large inflows of certain groups or teachings, what seems to take place after that is people are riding through the middle of the street on Toyotas with 50 caliber machine guns. And there's several riots. I mean, they riot in the streets just about. I mean, if you go through and just take a look at what's been going on in France, they've already been conquered. Regardless of who takes over, and if you want to stem the flow now, it's like a patient that's been on life support that's already lost 40% of their blood, and they're just holding on. That's why we saw, whenever they attempted to vote in the Netherlands, that he couldn't gather enough support, because he's already lost enough of the voting populace to another culture who doesn't want the immigration to stop. It's an invasion. It is an invasion. It's a controlled invasion by the controllers of the European Union. And these people that control this Central European Union have a vision of conquering the world and bringing it all into submission to a one world government. That is why they've bonded together these nations. And that's why they use the mainstream media outlets there. And they want to censor what they call fake news and alter information, alternate media. And they only want the controlled, centralized media to discuss things of that kind of nature because they want to continuously mold the people's minds into thinking that this is the world you want. Until it's no longer your country. And you guys all band together somewhere, most likely in the United Kingdom as it seems, and make a holdout and form a new Europe because Europe is no longer a country. So we've seen this massive invasion taking place. And so they were encouraged by Donald Trump in the United States, Britain's vote to leave the European Union. Le Pen hopes to profit from a similar populist momentum in France. And so this is her quote: "We are at the mercy of a currency adapted to Germany and not to our economy. The euro is mostly a knife stuck in our ribs to make us go where others want us to go," unquote. And this was met by loud cheers and applause because it's really true. As she reiterated her anti-globalization and anti-immigration views, she declared, quote, "We do not want France to be open to all commercial and human flows without protection and borders," unquote. And of course, met by applause and cheers because the citizens really understand what's going on. And for so long, we've had these globalist leaders running these countries, conquering Europe. And it's really, in essence, the only ally the United States has in the world. We're not a very popular country anymore. We've been running through every country that doesn't have nuclear weapons, that has any kind of resources, and with no one pretty much to challenge us on this. And now that we're seeing our chief ally completely being wiped out, we're watching the destabilization of the world. As we are also, there was also attempts to pull that kind of action here in the United States. Of course, there was a lot less people shipped in here. But a government under Le Pen's presidency would take France out of the Eurozone. It would bring back a national currency and hold a referendum on its EU membership and slap taxes on imports and on companies hiring foreigners. Le Pen says she wants to curb migration, expel all illegal immigrants, and restrict certain rights now available to all residents, including free education of French citizens. She hit out her two main opponents in the French election, independent centrist Emmanuel Macron and the conservative candidate François Fillon, saying they belong to the same system. And they do, because their media over there is supporting both of them largely. They support one another. The system is panicking because these people are waking up, she says. And I love to hear this. I love to hear freedom and liberty riding through in the world. But the dangerous thing that you need to focus on, you citizens of the United States, is whenever freedom begins to take place, when these globalist leaders, I really doubt that any of us can really conceptualize the amount of power that they have, the way that they control our media. When elections don't go their way, chaos ensues shortly after, and I'm sure we'll see Paris burn, and also extreme turbulence on the markets, because as we have seen through the history of the Federal Reserve, which is the same banking cartel that controls the euro and the European Union, it's the same system that's been set up there. It's been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years. The way that they gain more power is through chaos in the markets. Every time there's been a major market meltdown, the Federal Reserve has extracted more power for itself. There was currency dangers in 1929. Previous to that, as soon as the Federal Reserve began, they confiscated the gold because it was a threat to the dollar, to their Federal Reserve note. Over and over through the 2008 financial crisis, the Federal Reserve locked down more power, had unlimited access to the printing press to be able to give to their own private banks. Unlimited money taken from the taxpayers, and now they raise interest on the debt owed. So when these people begin to have a challenge to their authority, it gets ugly very fast, and we're going to see ripples across this market. So the time to prepare is now, because there is going to come a time when it will no longer be as cheap as it is now to be able to afford to protect yourself. In fact, by then, you'll be feeling so much how you missed the train, how you missed the boat, trying to catch up, that you'll be buying in at extremely high levels, similar to the people buying into this market right now. Oh, I might have missed a boat, and paying at all-time highs. You're not following the simple plan to profitability, which is to buy low and sell high. We're looking at major instability, and it's a good time to prepare is yesterday. I thank you guys for joining me here on the Silver Report. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe, like the videos, share the videos, get the word out. I thank you guys all so much for stopping by. As always, stay safe.